All right, hello folks. We are back with another special episode. Yes, it's not even a week, and we're doing another live consultation, which I'm very excited about. This channel is all about helping small businesses systemize, organize, and scale. And today I have another small business owner with me who I'm going to be supporting with some questions. Now, this episode we're calling a newbie episode because my colleague who I'm about to introduce, Todd, has, in his words, some very basic questions, which I think, having seen the notes, are very pertinent questions for anyone who wants to better organize their digital life, who wants to get more out of the Google platform and the Google ecosystem. And maybe if you're someone who's curious about Chromebooks, Todd was so curious he went out and bought one, but he's opened it and it's like, okay, what do I do now? So we're going to cover some real basic questions and hopefully get some decent answers. Strap yourself in. And I'd like to introduce Todd. Welcome, mate. Great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining.
Hey, Peter.
All right.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
So let's do maybe a very brief intro on who you are, where you're from, and what we're chatting about today.
Excellent. So by profession, I am a college professor, and I have a YouTube channel related to my topic of teaching, which is statistics and research design.
Yep.
So I have this cool little YouTube channel that I started doing just to post some videos for my students that has gotten a lot larger than I ever expected that it would. And it's called Research by Design, in case you're looking for some.
I'm going to open that on the screen while we chat.
The plug in for that one. I have been doing research using computers for a lot of years. However, I am not really familiar with Google. So I grew up in the Macintosh world. I've been using that since the very, very beginning. My earliest exposure to Macintosh was the all-in-one machines, the Mac SE, which I still have up here. It's a fish tank now, but I've never let go of that. So that said, I know computers. I don't know Google. I don't know Chromebooks, but I was really curious, really, from listening to your channel about the Google environment. You told me what to call it, the Google ecosystem.
Yeah.
So that's how much of a newbie I am. I don't even know what to call it, but I did go. They had a sale, and I got myself a Chromebook Plus, and I thought this would be fun to play with. And I recognize the potential with it, but I really need some guidance on. You have to think differently than you do in the Mac system. Things are located in some different places. There's some analogs between Google Sheets versus Microsoft Word, which is what I would use, even though it's a Microsoft product, use that in the Mac environment. What's what? How does it relate to what I already have? Are these two distinct worlds that I should not try to cross, or do they communicate to each other? Really, what are the advantages of having the Chromebook and having the Google environment that can really help me organize specifically my YouTube channel? Because Google and YouTube, they're the same. Everything that I've done on the Mac sort of crosses over into Google world, but it's never it's always that crossover. It's never integrated. I can see so many of the technologies. So let me start with this. I buy the Chromebook. I've had a lot of fun exploring it. I have noticed I'm missing some keys down here. So I don't have I have Control, Alt, and Shift, but I should have a whole lot more. There's no function keys. I also note that this has sometimes 8 gigs of memory and a 512 hard drive, which hardly seems enough for anything. Did I just buy a toy, or is this machine going to be, is that enough to actually do anything real in business?
Great question. So so let's start with like what a Chromebook is and what a Chromebook is good for. And you may send it back at the end of this discussion, which is totally fine by me. I'm not attached either way, and I'm not going to try and pitch on something that you don't actually need. So I see Chrome as excellent lightweight devices that allow you to work deeply in the Google ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And allow you to get, let's say, work done without the distraction of a PC or a Mac. On a PC or a Mac, you've got pop-ups, you've got other applications, you've got they're designed for legacy software, or call it legacy software, anything that's not running in the browser.
Be polite about
and and the Chromebook and the Chrome Chrome device ecosystem, but specifically Chromebooks or Chrome OS, that's really designed for stuff or workers where you're primarily working online. So really great for a CEO who needs to spend most of their time writing emails, maybe reviewing a handful of documents, and sitting on meetings and not much else. And they need a very secure, very simple, very reliable device that has great battery life and is never going to die on them, right? And it's not going to break. They don't have to reinstall any apps. They don't have to they don't have to worry about is Microsoft blah blah up to date or not. It just works. So really great for that. Also really great, obviously, for students, right? Because students just need to complete homework, browse on YouTube, and I don't know, probably check emails for emails from teachers or professors or whatever, right? So that makes it pretty straightforward as well. Now, in the business world, you're pretty new to doing things in the Google ecosystem. So it may be a bit premature that you've jumped into Chrome, because it's typically those that are really comfortable with the Google ecosystem and pretty comfortable with doing everything the googly way that get the most out of Chrome. And you're not quite there yet.
So let me ask about that.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about Mac is that walled garden of I can get all of my software from the App Store. I can basically avoid all of the riffraff out on the internet because I have this space in which I know that it's safe.
Yep.
And it seems like Google is like that. Is that accurate?
In a way, but then Google's a little bit, it's a little bit hokey in that some of the apps they were previously plugins. Now Google's killing off plugins and they have to be progressive web apps. Or some Chrome devices, well, all the Chromebooks allow you to run Android apps, right? So you can get an Android app, but then what's the difference between an Android app and a progressive web app, like a web app that you've downloaded, right? Well, now you've got a bit of a difference, between how they operate, and some of the Android apps are a little bit buggy on the device because they're designed for a phone, but now they're being expanded to a computer. So the experience is in theory, it's like the Apple experience, right? The Play Store has a vetting process. It's not quite as rigorous as Apple, but it has a vetting process for what goes in the App Store. The security is top notch because it's all locked down to your Google account, and it's a highly secured device and operating system. So on that basis, yeah, it's excellent. Do you get the same customer experience or user experience that you get on a Mac? Well, it's a bit different. If you're just loading it up and opening Chrome and working in Google Docs and Gmail, yeah, it's simple as. And that's why it's great to give one to grandma, because they can't break it. They can't go out of the Google walled ecosystem very far. But then some people will plug in a USB stick and you can get a movie file there, right? But natively in the Apple Finder, you can edit a video or you can trim a video. You can work with media, and Chrome OS leaves a bit to be desired with things like that. So the moment you want to put your engineering type hat on and start to do some video editing or editing photos or anything like that, you can get it done, but it's not the kind of experience that you would be used to having come from the Mac world.
So let me spring off of that.
Yeah.
As a teacher,
yes,
sometimes I want to show how something is done on a screen.
Yeah.
For me, I'm opening up my Mac, I'm opening up SPSS statistical software, and I'm showing you how to do an ANOVA. Let's say I want to do that on my Chromebook, and I don't expect to do all the editing. I'm going to bring that back on the Mac side and do that. But can I do screen capture of the whole screen, or even a snapshot of the screen that I could use for editing later?
Absolutely, you can. Yeah, so you can capture screen. There is a built-in tool which works reasonably well. You could also use something like Loom, which lets you capture your screen. So either of those are going to work just fine. That's not a problem at all.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. What about the limitations on just the amount of memory and the amount of storage? Is that Well, are those limitations, or am I just using the standard of 32 gigs of memory on my MacBook Pro and saying, oh, 4 gigs? How do you even survive in that world?
Yeah, look, 4 is a little low for any device these days. Um, Only because Chrome is very hungry. Now, the Chrome operating system is much more lightweight than Mac OS or Windows OS. So where you might want to have 8 or 12 these days as an absolute minimum on a Mac or a PC, I would argue if you're a power user, you'd want to be going to like 16 or 24 even. With a Chromebook, if you're a moderate user, I would still be recommending 8 as an absolute minimum. You will get away with 4, but the moment you open more than 5 or so tabs, you may start to feel it slowing down. And it kind of depends on what you're doing. If you're just in Zero.com or QuickBooks Online doing your accounts, and then in another tab you've got the news open, and then in another tab you've maybe got your Gmail, that's probably fine. But the moment you're on a Google Meet and you want to do those 3 things at the same time, okay, maybe you'll start to feel it slowing down just a little bit. And okay, Google Meet is using graphics as well as just processor, but bit by bit you're gonna start to eat into that. If you're a business owner, I would say 8 gig is probably going to be the minimum. If this is a casual device that you're just using when you're on the go, and you get to your office, you sit down at your workstation to do your more serious work, maybe you get away with it, just sitting in a cafe and just doing your emails. 4 gig will be absolutely fine on a Chromebook. It's when you start to multitask or do multiple things at the same time, that's when you'll start to feel 4 starting to lack a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to guess the little device behind you on the what looks like a TV stand has got to be a Google device, because as you started speaking about Google, it all of a sudden lit up and then the lines started moving. So I guess it was listening.
Oh yeah, that's an old Google. I've got to be careful using the G word now, but it's a Nest speaker, these are discontinued, but that's a really nice speaker. If you can find the Max Hub, I think it's called now. But if you can find the Max speaker, they're a nice speaker that sits there. So let's please keep going with the Chrome questions if you like. But when you're ready, let's move into Gmail and Google Workspace as well.
One last question about that, which would be, so I noticed on my Safari browser on my Mac, it has a thing that stops trackers. It don't let you track you from websites.
Yes.
The most common tracker that gets flagged is googlemanager.com. Point being, Google seems to be really interested in where I'm going and what I'm doing. Am I giving up privacy by using the Chromebook Plus?
Great question. Short answer is anything you do on the internet, you're giving up privacy. And most things in Google services, you're giving up privacy. Google have been, Google run the internet, right? And the reason Google have all the money that they do is because we use Google and they track us everywhere we go. That's it, end of story. And they have this, you've got to be careful using the M word, because I'm a Google partner and I've got to be careful I don't get into trouble. But they have this way of owning so much of the landscape of the internet, because people like me who want to advertise on Google have Google's pixel on every website, on every asset that we own.
Right.
And therefore, you go to my website, Google can see you're on my website, and they're collecting your data there. Now, that's going to happen whether you're on a Mac or whether you're on a PC, unless you're very, very sophisticated with using both a VPN and a browser that's not giving tracking data over. And that's a very valid path if you care very deeply about the idea of advertisers or Google themselves tracking what you do online. My personal choice is I don't really care that much, because I like shopping recommendations. It's pretty useful for me. And I know that Google doesn't really care that much about me as an individual. Like, they don't care what's in my profit and loss statement. They don't care what I sent in my instant messages to my friend or my partner. They don't care, right? They care about the aggregate behavior of many, many people. And yeah, sure, they care about advertising to me, But that's about it. They care about my profile. They don't really care about Peter Moriarty. So to me, I don't mind. But for many people, they have a real problem with that, and that's fine. That's a personal choice, and they don't wish for their data to be collected without their consent. Now, where it gets scary, and I've got to be careful not to put tinfoil hat on here, but where it gets scary is where that collection of data coalesces with overreaching governments.
We have one of those. Yes.
Oh yeah, well Australia does too, and and there are many around the world. And so the issue there is, and there's a not yet a case, but an issue with Apple and iCloud, where Apple made this amazing encrypted iCloud, which no one could get into because it was end-to-end encrypted, right? And the UK government said, well, if you don't let us have a backdoor, then you can't run the software in our country, or they were going to fine them or something. And so they've actually had to disable that end-to-end service rather than comply, which is a good move on Apple's part, right? But what that exposes is governments are very, very interested in where they feel and deem it's needed, getting access to your data. Now, that starts to give me a little bit of concern. To be honest, I'm changing my tune on that a little bit about how much data I want to give to advertisers. Do I care that, like Google saw that I was shopping for a hard drive or a printer today on Amazon? No, I don't care that much. But, what about the photos that are sitting in my, photos? If a government decides, hey, you know what, we don't like this Peter guy. Let's go and see what's in his photos because we need to. I'm probably less comfortable with that because my photos give my geotagged location where I was at a certain point in time on a certain day. I don't have much to hide, but anyone can build a case with enough information if they choose to. So on that basis, you've got to choose, okay, how much information do I want to give Google? Now, personally, I use Google Photos. I do use Proton Drive, which is a fully encrypted, end-to-end encrypted drive service. If there's stuff that I think, hey, maybe that's not something that I want someone who's looking for dirt to be able to find. But with most things, like if it's on a computer, someone might be able to get in. I trust WhatsApp end-to-end encryption calls, but outside of proper end-to-end encryption, I don't trust much.
I gotcha.
And even Facebook say that when you send a message to someone in an encrypted chat on Messenger, they may decrypt the chats for safety reasons, or if there's a request from law enforcement. So you've got to be real careful with that.
I gotcha. And so I'm not too, because I lead a quiet life, so I don't have too many exciting photos.
Right.
But I understand the ethos of you give us the man, we'll give you the crime.
Yeah.
I don't really want too many prying eyes there. Going back to Google proper.
Yeah.
So they do have access. So I write something in a Google Doc and I have it on my drive. They could access that, but I'm gathering they're not scraping that for information that they're using for any other purpose. Is that
good question? No. There's a distinction between personal consumer accounts and business accounts here, because personal consumer accounts that you're using for free are fair game. Your emails, your behaviors, everything is being collected, and Google's using that. And that's how you'll see advertisement in your Gmail, based on, insights and data that's gathered on you. Now, is it reading your individual emails? I'm not 100% sure, but effectively your data is fair game. On a business account, Google are very clear that they won't use your business data and they won't use your business behavior to advertise to you or to build a profile on you. They might use your web browsing history, but there's a button you can switch on and off for that, and it's very, very clear if they're using your history or not there, or if you're saving and giving them your activity. But that's an important distinction. Now, again, do you care if you've created a Google Doc about printers and then all of a sudden you start getting advertisement for printers? I don't know. Maybe you don't care.
Little invasive,
yeah, a little. Is there a Googler sitting in Google head office, trawling through people's spreadsheets? Oh, I wonder if there's anything interesting in here. No, they don't care. There is the ability for a support representative to go and access your documents if they you really wanted to, but technically they're supposed to have your consent. So I wouldn't ever expect that to happen ever unless you've expressly given permission for somebody to access your account. So I think most things there are pretty safe.
This is a good place to switch, because one of the central things that I wanted to know about was, why do I need a business account?
Yeah.
I have all of this stuff that has come with my new computer.
Yep.
And I do understand, if you're not paying for it, then you are the product. So they're going to look at my personal information, and that's fair game for marketing. So it seems like one reason for paying the extra and getting the business account would be increased privacy. Could you walk me through the basics, or I need to know the basics of what I'm getting for free, and then what am I getting in addition by paying for that upgrade to the business account?
Sure. Effectively, what you're getting, and I just want to say hello to a commenter who's watching live here. Aleph, thank you for joining, saying we use Chrome for Mac and Gmail is our communication center. Cool. So another Mac user using Gmail and or Google Workspace. There's a couple of simple things that you get paying for a business Workspace account over just using a consumer Gmail account. So number one, you get to use your own domain name. That's the most basic one, and you get this admin panel. Let me try and clean this up here. Okay.
Do you get to choose your own domain name, or?
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you register a domain name that you buy, and then you use that, domain name. Okay. So you get access to, most importantly, and I'm going to share my screen with you now, Todd.
Okay.
Let's find it here. You get access to this admin panel. Admin.google.com becomes your new place to go when you want to manage your business. Now, it's just you, right? But
just no employees.
Correct. But what you will have is a list of users for any of the users that you want to create. And what you will end up doing is obviously just have yourself here. But if one day you hire contractors, anyone to support your business growth, maybe employees come on board for your consulting at some point, you're going to end up with additional email addresses that you start to deploy. And the most important thing about this is, if someone is under your domain name, you have control of their data. You have control of their data. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if they need to leave the business, if they need to no longer be an employee, effectively you can reset their password, delete their account, kick off their account, whatever you need to do there, right? So you've got full control of that. And that means when you start sharing data between multiple accounts, usually if you share data between accounts, what you create, you own, and what I create, I own. The only problem with that is if you own it, you can delete it. So if you create stuff for me, then you can delete it. If you're my contractor, or if I'm your contractor, we can delete each other's data potentially, and we don't want that. So having this business account gives us then a business Google Drive. And inside the business Google Drive, we say, right, okay, for each area of the business, we create one of these. It's called a shared drive. It's like a corporate drive. You probably got that at the university that you're at, an S drive or an I drive or whatever. You say, right, in this drive, these are the only people that are allowed to access this drive, and they have different levels of permissions. We've got a million videos on the channel on setting that up. But importantly, the company has control. So that's the first thing that you get. Do you want to ask questions about that? And then I'll go through a couple of other benefits as well.
Everybody has their own account.
Yep.
And then I don't have to get everybody a Chromebook. They could use their
whatever
Mac
device they want. Yeah.
Log in. And then what if I am collaborating with someone else? Can I take my account and attach it to them? So basically, I have people that pay me to do their math homework for them, to do statistics and research. If I want to collaborate with them, can I connect to their account temporarily to do that?
So that's a great question. That would depend more on how they're set up, right? Because ideally they want to be savvy enough to be set up with shared drives. If they're on a business account, hopefully they're savvy enough and they've set up a shared drive. You can create things and put it in the shared drive for them. What that looks like is, you'll see here, I'm connected to a number of shared drives that I don't own. So this says these are owned by BizTech Lawyers. These are owned by Moriarty.co. These are owned by OnSite Helper. These are owned by PlayStack. So these different shared drives are owned by other people. If I put something in there, they become the owner, or the company becomes the owner.
Okay, that makes sense. And where do the docs actually exist? Are they're not on your computer? They're on a drive somewhere in the world.
Google Drive in the cloud. Yeah, and you can synchronize to your computer, whether you're on a Chromebook or a Mac, using the Google Drive app. No different to the Dropbox app. Does the same thing. So you can synchronize, download files. They'll appear in your Finder, or if you're on a Chromebook, in the Chrome file manager, and effectively you're able to see all of those files in there.
Okay, this is good. What if I'm doing some traveling and I'm going to be basically offline? I'm going to be in airports and away for a while. Is the Chromebook, does it just become a brick if it's not connected to the internet, or can I still do business stuff and then have it all sync up when I am back to my own Wi-Fi?
You can do a lot offline with a Chromebook. So if you've got your Google Drive set up to synchronize with your Mac Finder, as an example here, or if you're on a Windows machine or Chromebook, same. You can open up information either from your shared drives or even from your My Drive. And it's just a matter of going to a folder, right-clicking, and going to make available offline. And that's going to synchronize that folder from the cloud down to your local machine.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
it's very cool. Yeah. So that's going to start happening automatically in the background for me here. I'm not sure why that one's not opening. I'm running a little bit slow there.
And so I'm getting up a folder. Everything in that folder would sync, or you could go to the level that you want to get individual files if you wanted those.
Correct. There you go. Oh, it's thinking about it. Okay, great. So it's now downloading all those files. All those little green ticks are the ones that are now available offline. So usually what will happen is, if you've got, let's say I've got a PDF here, right? And see, it might be a bit hard to see, but there's a little cloud icon next to it.
I do see that.
Yeah. So if I was to double click and try and open that, it is going to open, but it'll take a moment to open up on my screen because it's got to download it live in the background. Now It's going to be cached offline for however long it thinks is appropriate based on how much disk space I've got available and blah, blah, blah. And so it effectively just will hold that as long as it needs to, and then it'll remove the local copy again and leave it on the cloud. But that moment that you hit make available offline, which I already did, all of these other ones are one by one going to be downloaded. And you can see, one by one, it's got a copy of all of them. And the Google documents, they even work offline as well through Google Chrome. So as long as you're running Google Chrome, you can set up offline mode inside your Google documents. So let me share how to do that, because whether you're on a Mac or a Chrome device, the setting is the same. We go into our Google Drive, we go to our settings, and then we switch on offline mode. Looks like I haven't switched. This is a new computer. I haven't switched it on here. There we go. So that's going to start synchronizing my documents offline. So I've got access to each one of my documents. Now, you asked an important question earlier that I didn't cover, and that was, what if you have someone working for you, right? What if you've got a contractor or someone you're collaborating with? Maybe they've got a Gmail account, or maybe they have their own Google Workspace account. If you are the owner of a set of files, or you're the owner of a body of work, the best way to protect that is to set up a shared drive. So you configure a shared drive. You say, right, I'll call it test here, my important work. Let's go find that one. There we go.
You call it a test instead of...
Yeah, I should have, exactly. And then you'll add the email address of the person. Now, I'll add my my personal email now as an example. I choose what level of permission I want to give. A popular one for contractors is the contributor permission, meaning they can add and they can edit files. They can maybe even share files, but importantly, they can't delete anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah, very cool. Add and edit, but not delete. And then you've now given somebody else access to that. So that's how you would configure for a shared contractor.
That's excellent. So this raises another point.
Yeah.
When I get the free version of Google, it comes with some amount of storage in my drive.
Yeah.
Google Drive. Keeping with our theme of why upgrade to business, do I get more storage if I pay for business?
Yeah. So you get, depending on the plan, I think it's 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes per person.
Oh, per person?
Yeah. Let me open that up. Per license you pay for. Yeah, there we go. So on the the starter's only 30 gig. That's very low still. Business standard is my minimum recommendation for anyone because you get a bunch of additional features like automatic recording of meetings. There's more sophisticated sharing settings inside the Google shared drives. I mean, the storage is pretty compelling as well. You're a creator, so you definitely want to go for the 2 terabytes. I don't think 30 gig would last you very long at all. So business standard is the starter, and then that's your per user price that you pay for. And you get the storage, but you also get all the other business features as well. Probably a good time to mention some of the other most obvious features that really make sense for moving from a Gmail account to a Workspace account. Number one is access to support. So if you have a consumer Gmail account, Google really don't care about you. And I've seen people run businesses on the consumer accounts. Something goes wrong. Maybe they get hacked. I don't know. Maybe just Google flags their account for spamming or whatever. Just random things happen. And then they get locked out of their account. And all their business data, all their business history is stuck there. And that's a big problem. It's a material risk for a business to lose access to data like that. Google have 2 billion mailboxes, or nearly 2 billion mailboxes to manage. They just can't manage it with human resources. It's automated systems only. There's no one to call, no one to talk to. With a business Workspace account, now, they're not going to roll out the red carpet for you, but you have multiple ways of getting back into that account. Because you own the domain name, fundamentally, only one domain name can ever have one Google Workspace account attached to it at any one time. So you prove to Google you own the domain name. Guess what? You get back into your account no matter what. And you may have to work with us being a partner to find your way into support. If you've also let your domain name lapse, that makes it a little bit harder. There's some challenges getting back into accounts. But in most cases, 9 out of 10 cases, you can get back into an account because you own the domain name. So that's pretty straightforward. So that ticket alone, to me, gives me the safety that and the comfort that, okay, my business data is safe, even if I do something silly like forget the password to get into my account. Whereas with a Gmail account, you're up shit creek, as we say in Australia. So
good in America too.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, I didn't know that. Great. So that's the recommendation there. You get other things like a SLA, service level agreement, guaranteed uptime and all those kind of things. But the best thing about it is they're not going to use your data for advertising. There's privacy statements that say that they don't have any claim or ownership of your intellectual property that you upload to their cloud system, even though they're holding it in their cloud system. That was a big thing 5-10 years ago. Who owns the data? Right. But then the other one is, on a practical level, is this data safe and recoverable if something goes wrong with my account? Because if every one of your email, if every one of your emails for a decade is in there, if every file you've created over the last decade, every bit of content that you've created over the last decade is in one place, you better not lose it. And most people don't back it up either. Backup is a good idea, but most people don't back it up. So you want to hope that no one loses it.
Okay. One thing you said stuck out to me. You're talking about the per user. Yeah. So if it's just me, can I get this for just me, or is there a minimum number of users?
One user is fine. There is technically even a more affordable plan, which is called the Google Workspace Individual Plan, but I don't. It's not on the website. I don't even know if it's available in all regions. But my strong recommendation is buy one license of the Business Standard Plan, the middle tier business plan. But yeah, you can certainly buy it just for one user. You used to get a discount if you pay annually. I don't know if that's still there anymore. But you also get Gemini on that account, the advanced version, because you're paying for a Google account, which is nice. You get the 2 terabytes of storage. You can't use it for things like Google Play, movies, and that kind of thing. If you want to share stuff with your family, it does work for Google Photos, but not in the same way a consumer account works. There's some limitations. There's some limitation using Google Home devices and stuff like that. Doesn't work all that great. But if you're at all serious about your business, even if you're a sole operator, and this is in part for the people listening or watching, absolutely a must. Here we go. So someone has said the Google. I assume this is related to the Google Individual Plan, only for new users in the UK, but not past users. There you go. So it does. And I think it was someone else in the UK who told me about it, who was using it. So that's the individual plan, but disregard that for now.
Okay, but I can buy a business plan with just me as a sole proprietor.
Correct.
Right. And I do think the other limitations you were discussing sound more like a feature than a bug, which the distractions that we started with, the minimizing of distractions through not having something that's, I don't need to be watching movies. Oh, I already have access to YouTube. That's enough of a distraction.
Correct.
But,
Well,
I'll focus on.
The reason I do mention that is some business owners will just want to have everything in one account, and I understand that because managing our digital lives gets difficult. Just managing one inbox, let alone multiple. Yet, if you're building a brand and a business, you probably want to have some kind of separation, with your personal data. You don't want to be like loading up a presentation and all of a sudden your photos from wherever are up there on the screen, right? So having separate accounts is a good idea. But what some people will do is they'll have one account for their business, and maybe they've got an accounting firm, they've got 10 staff, and they've got everything in a Google Workspace account. But then they want like a Google account for home, and they might use a business account for home, which I do. I use a business account for home, and what that gives me is large amounts of storage, better recoverability for the data, because I have a lot of like personal YouTube video content that I've created, which is outside my main business, that goes in there as well. And so I choose to use that account for my primary home account, right? The challenge is it misses out on some of those consumer features. So I then have a third account, which is a real Gmail account for those one or two things that I need to do, which overcomplicates things. But for an IT person who wants to have that separation, some people want to do 2 workspace accounts.
And not just an IT person, an IT genius.
Yeah, exactly. I try to be.
Well, I think what would work for me is get the business account for the new computer here, and then continue to use my Mac for personal and fun and everything else, and just really limit, and which is the whole reason why I wanted to go down this rabbit hole to begin with, was a single device that can be the work device, that when I'm doing this, I'm working, and then I have other places for those other things. So this sounds like the upgrade to the Google Workspace business would be money well spent.
Awesome. Well, let's go through some of the other things that I think make it a real obvious winner for you. Now, one of those is when you've got your Mac sitting there, right, and you're away from your Chrome device, you can very easily sign. Oh, hold on, I'm going to have to share. I have to share my whole screen here so you can see it. Give me one sec. Screen. Oh, now this is confusing. Screen 1 and screen 2 have the same thing on them. Okay, I'll try this, see if it works. Can you see that? Oh yeah, there we go. You can see that. Great. Okay, so so here you can click your face in the top right hand corner on Chrome. Make sure you're signed in with what will be your business account, and if you need help migrating the data from what's in your Gmail account now over into a business account, that's what our team do. They have a migration service, and we can chat about that offline. But once you're signed into this account, just like it works with a consumer account, it's going to synchronize everywhere you go. So on your Chromebook, your open tabs if you want it to, but your favorites, your plugins, your saved passwords, saved payment information, all that kind of stuff, history will all synchronize to your desktop machine. So if you're sitting at your your office desk, or your desk in your studio there, you might say, hey, you know what? I was looking at that article on my laptop an hour ago. You can go ahead and jump into your history and immediately open that up, which is nice. It also means that if you have your laptop fall out your car window or something, or leave it on a bus or a train, then all of your data is synchronized to your Google account. You buy a new device, you log in, boom, you've got everything there immediately. And that's one of the beautiful things about Chrome. You mentioned, hey, it's got this small hard drive. Like, is that going to be a problem or not? Typically, most people find that they start working more and more in the cloud and online using Google document formats, using online services like maybe Canva instead of a local image editing software. Video editing still works better on a local device, but like, I'd hope that's the kind of thing that you look at delegating to someone else to take care of for you. It's a nice, it kind of forces you to delegate using a simpler machine. And then you end up in a situation where it's like, well, what do I actually need a big hard drive for? Well, I'm not downloading movies to this thing because I'm just getting work done on it. All my emails are sitting in Gmail online. I don't have 10 years worth of emails that need to download to MacMail like they might if you're using a computer. So everything kind of lives online, and therefore it doesn't have much need for storage on the local device.
This is good.
Yeah.
So let's say that I want to get the workspace for business.
Yeah.
Do I want to create a brand new account on that, or do I want to use an existing account that's now a personal account and upgrade that to a business account? And if I, what would be how should I think through? Sure. Whether I create something fresh versus continue with something I already have and improve on it?
Good question. That's a simple one to answer. If you currently have a Gmail account, it cannot be converted to a business workspace account.
Yeah, problem solved.
Problem solved. Great. I wish it could. It would make everyone's life a bit easier. I mean, it would mean I probably don't have all that much business in migrations anymore. But there's no immediate pathway for doing that. There may be for the weird users in the UK who have access to that workspace individual plan. I heard of that happening, but I don't know if that ever happened or not. But what I do know is typically if someone's using a Gmail account right now, it's mostly personal with maybe a little bit of business. If they have been using it hardcore for business and there's a lot of business history in there, certainly take a copy of the data and migrate it into your business account when you first start the business account, and then leave the rest there in the Gmail, continue to operate it as your personal space, and then the business account you would use for all of your business data moving forward. Now, migration tools and migration, pathways to doing that. There is a built-in tool to the admin panel, which will allow you to do that. So inside the admin panel, when you set up an email account, you can actually use the migration tool, which I don't even know where it is. It's in here somewhere. Data migration, here we go. There's a built-in tool. It's not the best tool out there. We use a number of other tools with our team because we do this as a service and we do it for thousands of mailboxes every year. But this one does work okay. So that's one option if you want to DIY. Otherwise, you engage a partner like us and you say, hey guys, help me move from here to there, and we'll do a data check and make sure it comes across perfectly and do it at the right time so there's no downtime and all those other things. That's the reason you pay a consultant to do it. But you do that once, and then you use your new business account from here forward with the domain name, and that might involve sending an email out to your customers saying, hey, here's my new email address. Please use this one from now forward.
Okay. I also have the YouTube account, yes, which is attached to its own Gmail account. If I create a business account, brand new, can I then make that new business account control my existing YouTube channel?
Excellent question. Yep. So one, especially for the creators, if you own a YouTube account, there's actually two ways of doing permissions. So the standard way of doing permissions is, I think what you get by default now, if you're a new YouTuber, I'll show this just in case you've converted to these kind of permissions, but they basically sit inside of YouTube Studio here. You can't transfer an account ownership from here if your permissions are inside of YouTube permissions, but you can push the account back to the old way of doing it. The old way of doing it, you'll see here, there's even a button to go back to managing permissions in your brand account, opt out of permissions in YouTube Studio, right? So you click that button and you go to something called a brand account.
And that would be my business account, my workspace account that I've just now created.
Well, it's actually a third entity. A brand account is your YouTube identity, your YouTube channel identity, and that can be switched between multiple people because the YouTube identity is separate from your individual user Gmail identity. Now, depending on how old it is, they might be named the same, but using this method, you should be able to switch them and separate them out. So for example, the itGenius brand account here, so it's currently connected to our YouTube Studio, so I can't edit that one, but let me find another one that I can. Edit. Let's go back to, where was brand account? Let's go to brand accounts. Okay, so on site helper, here we go. Cool. So I can go to manage permissions, and if of course it's going to ask me to double check. It's really me. Thanks, Google. Thanks for keeping me so secure.
Good. So while we're waiting for Google there, this raises a question. There's a lot going on here. And so if I need some help in making all of these things connect, do you know anybody, Peter?
Do I know anybody? Great. I am so glad you asked. So that's what our concierge service does. So if you go to itGenius, if you just need help with one thing, you can get a quick fix. So that's like one ticket, one issue. Our team are available instantly during business hours. Just chat to them, say, hey, I want a quick fix. And then someone will, help diagnose and then jump on a call with you. You check out and then they'll jump on a call with you immediately or a Google Hangout or whatever and get it fixed, right? If you think you need more than one thing sorted out per quarter, it makes more per quarter or like more than one thing per month, then it makes sense to sign up to Concierge. It's a per monthly fee. And with that per monthly fee, you get all you can eat access to our team. So that's help desk, consulting, support for all these apps, backups, training, support, anything you need. That's all included as part of Concierge, and that starts at $250 per month.
And could I do that for like 3 months just to kind of hold my hand through this transition?
Yeah, I would recommend if you need to do a migration, you just purchase a migration, and that includes 3 months of the transition and helping you manage that change. I don't know if there is a minimum on Concierge. It may be 6 months or 12 months if it is, but just ask our team. Oh, there we go. Minimum 12-month term. It's on the page. I should probably know that. It's on the page there. But if you just need a migration done, you can talk to the team and just get a migration done. And that's pretty straightforward to do. And they'll give you the support to move things across.
And so migration would include helping me get my YouTube channel connected and all of the. Okay, that sounds that's the way to go right there.
That would be YouTube, Google Analytics, moving across any other Googly type services. The team will check anything else connected to your account, like an old, I don't know, Google My Business page. Maybe you've got like a local page with your ratings from customers and those kind of things. So just to tie off this one, and there's a question from the live audience as well, which I'm going to come to. When you have a brand account, so this is where your YouTube channel lives, you can choose a new owner. Once you've invited someone, you've got to wait a week. But after you've invited someone, you can choose for them to be the new owner. So what you do is you would elevate your business account to an owner, wait 1 week, and then change them to the primary owner. And the business account is now the primary owner of your YouTube channel.
Okay, that would clean up so much with.
Yeah, makes it very easy.
I started with Mac. My Google account email is actually my Mac email that I originally signed up for, like a Gmail with 10 years ago. So this would clean this up dramatically.
Okay, well that's another account type yet again. So we have business accounts, which is your own domain name. You have @gmail.com accounts, and then you have, we'll call them like Google registered accounts, which is if you signed up to YouTube more than 5 years ago, you would get a Google registered account. That sounds like that's what we have. So it's a Google identity. You will 100% have a brand account attached to that. And if you go to, I think the URL was, it's myaccount.google.com/brand accounts. You'll probably, it's probably not that useful for you to go there now, but
Good. You got it on
case, that's where the actual identity is for the brand account. But interestingly, when you go to YouTube with your business account, because you might be wondering, well, how do I get like your edit team to post videos to your channel once you've got the new channel set up, right? And so there's an important thing when you have this brand account. You'll see here, if I click onto switch accounts, so I've got my itGenius account here, which is the YouTube identity. It's like that's the YouTube brand account. But then I have my Peter Moriarty identity. So that's actually my Peter Moriarty business account. peter@itgenius.com is my email address. And that's actually my business account there. But because I'm attached to a brand account, I'm the admin or the owner of a brand account, that also lives down there as the identity that I can switch into. It also means stuff that I watch on my YouTube account doesn't impact, the recommendations and stuff on the channel, because otherwise my team would log in and what's this? What, V8 burnouts for 10 minutes, Anyway, so so that keeps it nice and separate too. It also means if you've got multiple channels, you can have multiple channels there. So that keeps it nice and tidy.
Also nice.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's go to a question from the audience. Violetta asks, "Hello, I have Workspace, and I'm interested in a business subscription for my MacBook Air. Is to be brought through my legal entity or as an individual. Primarily, I will use it for 2 brands and social platforms like YouTube, LinkedIn. Thanks." Okay, cool. So 2 important things here. One is you've mentioned like buying the subscription for your MacBook Air. You buy a Google subscription for Google. You don't need to buy it for a computer. Google subscription is like having a membership to Netflix. Wherever you want to access it, you access it from your phone, from your computer, from your multiple computers, from a Mac or a PC, from your friend's house, doesn't matter. You've got your Google account, and it doesn't just live on one computer. In the old days, no shade at anyone here, I grew up in the 90s, we would buy Microsoft Office and you would get a license for that computer. We've got to change that thinking. Google is a subscription and we get access to it everywhere, right? That's pretty simple to grasp. Secondly, what legal entity do you buy it through? You can change this. So if you have a company or a sole trader, proprietor, registration, you should probably use that, because I'm sure you can claim it on tax wherever you are. # this is not accounting advice or financial advice, but I'm sure you can claim it wherever you are able to claim your expenses. So if you have a company name or a business registration, sounds like that's probably the best place to claim it. Even if you want to use it for some personal use as well, probably better to have it in the business name. You can also change that in the future, and it's a bit tricky, but working with a partner like us, if you change countries, you can even change the registration of what country the account is in, if that is ever important to you as well. But thanks for the question, Violetta. Great to have you here joining on the live. Great. I'm so glad we're getting questions through this time. Always love it when there's questions. All right. So
I think that the migration package would be the best way for me to move forward, because I'm going to have lots of very specific questions about, here are the accounts that I own, thinking of URLs and how I want to set this up, what I have so far, what I would like to have. having somebody that could walk me through the specifics of what I need for my account, I think that would be really helpful.
Great. That's exactly what we do. So that's no issue at all. Our team will connect with you. We're soon to launch these on the site, so you can quote them yourself and go ahead. But let me tell you, it's very affordable for sole traders. So yeah, where it's sub $1,000, it may even be close to half that, and you're paying in US dollars, so you get more Australian dollars for every US dollar. We have a terrible exchange rate at the moment, so yeah, you'll get a
koala bear. That counts for a lot right there.
Yeah, well, I don't have the pricing public on the site right now, but we will soon, and of course I'll send that through to you. But we'll get you hooked up with the team to formally quote that and check we're managing everything there. But the process of the migration is: do you already have a domain name that you own?
I do. And I have one.com, and I have some other stuff, but I think I would want to use that .com as the primary.
Perfect, great. So you can add as many domains as you like. You only pay per mailbox, or I like to call it per bucket of mail. Okay. So you'll have your Todd at yourdomain.com, and whatever else you want to send to that as an alias is free. You just pay for that one Todd at bucket of email. You can even send from multiple email addresses if you want, and you still only pay per user, per bucket of email. So I'll show you what that looks like in mine, just if you're interested to see. It'll probably look pretty similar to your Mac email. I go to send an email, and I can choose the from address. Some of these are on different domain names. Some of them are just alias addresses for my main address.
Perfect.
Yeah,
what's the background picture with the stained glass? Looks pretty cool.
That's one of our team. That's one of our team conferences. So once a year we fly everyone to one city in the Philippines, because that's where most of our team are based. And nice. This is 2 years ago, I think, in Boracay, which is one of the beautiful holiday islands there. And we get everyone. That's most of the team. We've got about 65, 70 people now, I think, on the team. So we all get together and get drunk, sing karaoke, and do business conference planning. Very serious business. Okay, cool. So we've covered email migration process. You choose the domain name. We get the account verified, right? And that requires some DNS techie stuff. Sure. Then we migrate your emails across. So whatever history you want to move across for the email, we move that across. Then if you've got anything in Dropbox or Google Drive or anything else that you want to move across, all of that stuff can be moved across as well, right? So some of that you might choose to drag and drop yourself. Some of that you might choose, all right, I want the itGenius team to do it for me. We've got our automated tools that'll do like cloud to cloud and suck it out of your Dropbox and put it in your Google Drive automatically, right? So we've got that. Then training enablement. So we've got like an online training course. The team will do a couple of like Google Meets with you and that kind of thing, answer all your questions, make sure you're comfortable with it. And then, you set it up on all your devices. You make sure you're able to log in and get access to everything. And then we do what's called the go live. Now, that would usually be going from an old mail system to a new mail system, but you might not have emails running on that domain name right now. I get the sense it might not be used. Yeah, great, easy. So you'll be set up in no time, easy. Yep. And then you're good to go. And the cool thing about Gmail is, and this is quite often a question that newbies have, is like, oh, well, if I send someone a meeting invitation, will they know that I'm on Google, right? Like, will they know that? Now, apart from the fact that you might send a Google Calendar link, a Google Meet link, right? That's probably the only clue that they're going to have that you're on Google. If I send a test event, I mean, you would have got one for this call, right, to your university address. It comes through as a normal .ics file. That's a standard calendar file across Mac, Windows, and Google complies with that standard. It attaches a .ics only due to the fact that I happen to attach a Google Calendar meeting, which happens automatically once I add a guest. So if I add in Todd here, it's not you. Okay, I'm going to add one of my colleagues. I'll add Regina. There we go. Okay, so I've added Regina in there, and automatically a Google meeting has popped up, right? Now, even if that's an external person outside my company, even if they don't have a Google account, doesn't matter what platform they're on, they'll get that link to the meeting in their email.
Nice.
Yeah. And all they know is I've got a meeting with Todd. It's on my calendar. And I don't know if it puts it in the location field or whatever, but they can click on the meeting link and then they can join the meeting. Pretty straightforward.
So, Peter, I think what we need to do is once I get this up and running and get your help with it, I would love to do a deeper dive into what you're showing here. Like, I know that's really simple. You do this all the time. I have never seen that. I'm just opening up my Zoom account and copying and pasting. Like, there's stuff that you can do in this ecosystem to make life a whole lot easier. I want to know more about specifics.
We can certainly do that. I'll show you a couple of very, very small tricks now just to get you excited. And then when it comes time for that, we'll loop back and we'll do that. Some of these are really useful specifically for managing your life working with other team members. So having team calendars where multiple people are accessing your calendar, or multiple people are accessing a shared calendar, makes life easy so you can coordinate with other people. At a minimum, if you want to work with one or two people in your business, you probably want to share your calendars with each other so you know when people are free or busy. And so let's say I want to meet with Scott, my business partner. I can click on to Scott, open his calendar, and I'm going to have difficulty finding times because he finishes early in the afternoons, and I am on a completely different time zone to him. But let's try and find a day when we've both got a gap. Maybe sometime next week. No. Okay, maybe if I get up, hold on. Here we go. If I get up at 5 a.m., there we go. If I get up at 5 a.m., I can catch Scott there. So, but that lets me see. That lets me see immediately when we're both available for a meeting. If I want to find time with us together, I can do that for 3 or 4 or 5 people at the same time, which makes it very useful if I've got to connect with lots of different people. Right now, that's for me because I've got team members, right? But other things that might be useful is, for example, having one calendar for your personal stuff and one calendar for your business stuff. So I might say, hey, you know what? This afternoon, I want to go to the gym. I can pop in on my personal calendar. So I've got a little P for Peter Personal here. It changes it to a different color. That's nice and useful. But importantly, I can share the events on my personal calendar with a partner, friends, football club, I don't know, whatever. There's the opportunity to share your calendar with others if you want to share your calendar. I can even let someone manage my calendar if I want. So my PA has the ability to manage my business calendar. She'll say, hey, Pete, this person wants to meet with you on blah, blah day. Is that cool with you? Yep, sure, great. And then it just appears on my calendar. Or, hey, can you organize these flights for me? Or organize this accommodation for me? Yep, all the flights get organized. And if Google doesn't automatically put them on my calendar, which it does try to, but if it doesn't automatically, then they get placed on my calendar by someone else. So all those little collaboration features are very useful.
That's right. So I'm thinking about the way I'm doing this currently versus what you're showing here. And I thought I was good with technology, but I've got a lot to learn.
There is a lot to learn. The great thing about Google, and I'm a Mac guy from way back, right? My family were into Macs, and I grew up with Macs as well as tinkering with Windows machines as well. So I've got a bit of both worlds. Google's quite similar to Macs in that, number one, it generally just works because it runs in the browser and it's pretty hard to break it. It doesn't rely on a local app running on your computer. It just relies on the internet. So, I mean, yeah, sure, you've got to have a good internet connection, but everyone's got a good internet connection these days. So things just tend to work. Number two, it's designed to be pretty simple. You'll notice there's like reasonably bold like colors and easy to read. I've got a big screen, so the font's a bit small for you, but it's reasonably easy to use and work out the platform. It's reasonably intuitive because it's been designed really with that like anti-Microsoft ethos where I try not to hate on Microsoft, but Microsoft is very sophisticated and powerful, but it's built by IT guys for IT guys, where it's got all these features And some people just need 3 of those features. And I'm one of those people, like I just want to get my work done. And I tend to gravitate towards just sticking to the basics rather than tinkering. I love tinkering, but I don't think tinkering is productive when I'm doing my work. I'll tinker on the weekends. I'll tinker with a motorbike, or with I've got a camper truck. I tinker with that. That's fine, and that's more enjoyable. But I'm over my tinkering days with IT stuff because it's not productive time in my business. So I prefer to have something simple that works. It might not have all the bells and whistles, but I've long stopped, caring about having all of those in the Google world.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's an argument for the collaboration features and the until a year or 2 ago, Google were 5 years ahead of Microsoft in AI infused machine learning in the Google applications. I still think they're ahead in like auto responses to your emails when you're writing them. It'll auto compose for you. If someone sends you a chat, it'll automatically suggest responses to the chat in little bubbles that you can just like click with one button. Like all those little things are really, really nice, and I think Google's still well ahead of many competitors in that respect.
So one more question. I think we're probably getting close to time. AI. Yes. It comes with Gemini. Yes. So what will I be able to do with Gemini in the Google ecosystem that's going to make my life easier?
I'm going to be really cheeky and say, well, when it works.
Oh, is that right? I've not dabbled with it, so I don't know what to expect.
Oh, God. It's something that I want to work. Gemini's got a lot better. In the last 45 days, I've primarily used Gemini for everything, and it's come leaps and bounds. It's now actually usable as my primary, and only 1 or 2 queries out of 10, which I do 10 or more a day, do I find myself having to go to another platform because Gemini's, I don't know, got a bug or something like that. But like even this afternoon, I asked it, what's the difference between a Western Digital My Passport and other models, right? I asked it that this afternoon, and it popped up and just said there's been an error, and then just did nothing. What does that even mean? And it's just worked for me now. Like I've just run that query and it's worked for me now, and that's great. But it's tough. The thing that you can do in Gemini, and most of these are pretty par for par when it comes to writing and finding stuff on the web, and having a conversation with AI that you just couldn't do 2 years ago. There's small nuances, maybe Claude's a little bit better for creative writing, and maybe GPT is a little bit better for some advanced reasoning. The thing that Gemini does, which none of the others get anywhere close to, is you can say at Drive, right, at Google Drive, tell me what was discussed in last week's Attract Sync meeting. That's our marketing team weekly meeting. So it's going to go and look up the transcription of that meeting in my Google Drive, hopefully, and it's going to hopefully give me some notes from that. Here we go. So February 19. Yep, it got the date right. Project updates, production updates, various technical issues. There we go. So it's pulled up the notes. It's let me know where it's got those notes from with citations, so I can go ahead and open up the actual notes document if I want, and it's brought up all of the notes there for me. That's just a document sitting in my Drive, and I can say, great, can you tell me roughly how much time each person spent speaking based on the timestamps? I've never tried that one. Let's see if we can do something difficult. I don't know how this one's going to go. It might make something up. Let's see.
It's always good at that.
Yeah. Well, it is good at that.
It's better to say there was an error. I'd almost rather have that than hey, here's what actually happened. No,
exactly. Then it'd be convincingly wrong. And I have had it be very confidently incorrect before.
There's a fair amount of that. So while we're waiting for this, what if I have 4 or 5 PDFs on a topic that I'm thrilled about, like how to do a blocked ANOVA? and I put all of those in my drive, can it read those and then synthesize that and give me a summary of something that I have put in the drive that's on a PDF or a Word doc or something that's not Google?
Yeah, correct. How about tell me the last 10 files that are PDF format that I put in my drive. Let's see what happens. I'm dictating, by the way, with an app called, forget the settings for this one, Flow Pro it's called,
Okay.
which is a really cool little dictation app. Let's see how this goes. It didn't do the last one, by the way. Oh, it asked for the transcript. Okay, it was looking at the wrong file. If we had given it the transcript, it probably would have worked out. There we go. Okay, cool. So company abstracts. Okay, yeah, I unfortunately I can't ask for analysis on those documents and shareholders agreements and stuff like that there. So we'll skip that. We'll skip that for now. But yes, you can ask it anything about files that are sitting there in your drive, which is nice. But I would probably use another tool for that. Have you used NotebookLM yet, or have you come across that?
I have not.
Oh, you're going to like this, because this is really aimed at the academic crowd, which is used. So NotebookLM, L for Lima, M for Michael, is effectively a little cornered off AI, which you can add a bunch of documents to, and then in that little microcosm of stuff that you've uploaded, you can then query it, have it give you summaries, even give you study guides if you want. Oops, I'm sharing the wrong tab. There we go. You can have it generate a study guide, all kinds of things. So the process works. You add documents, you can upload PDFs, you can add YouTube videos, and it'll go and grab the transcription, which is very clever. So you throw a whole bunch of stuff at it, and then from there you can ask it any questions you want about the data, and it will give you answers based on just the data that you've given it. So much less chance of hallucinating. But then when it does give you answers, let me find one of the summaries here. The summaries should include citations. I can't see them here for some reason. Okay, let me just open up a new prompt here. But you can ask it questions. Here we go. And it gives citations. So you can then say, okay, where did it get that answer from? And it will give you the citation of exactly where that answer came from. So for your field, absolutely awesome.
So Peter, is this already in my Chromebook, or do I need to get this somewhere?
This is available to everyone. NotebookLM.google.com. You can access it with a Gmail account now if you'd like. Accessing with a Workspace account, there's no difference in the standard NotebookLM, but there is a NotebookLM Plus, which I don't know what that means. So let's look. Google Workspace gets NotebookLM Plus. What is NotebookLM Plus? Here we go.
So it's between.
I think you get more LM Plus. 5 times more audio, overviews, notebooks, queries, and sources per notebook. Access to premium features only available. What other premium features only available to?
You get more stuff.
You get more stuff.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know what the stuff is.
Probably not going to spring for the Plus yet, but sounds like the.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So Agent Space is another new product that they're launching. I'm watching a webinar about that in an hour, actually. So that's more of a. Okay, there doesn't seem to be much here.
No, I think you're right.
Ah, here we go. Your outputs and files won't be used to improve generative AI models. So, of course, free Gmail account, you're handing over your data. As usual. I mean, that's expected with a Gmail account, but you know, there you go. It's in the help guide.
There's worse things than training AI, though.
Yeah, you know what? Like, again, you know, you can give it your PDF, but do they really care? Like, I don't care if they read my shareholders agreement. It's going to help me next time I want to ask for a shareholders agreement in Gemini. Like, go ahead.
I don't mind doing that. I mean, that seems to be kind of the paying it back of, all right, learn from what I'm doing so that you can help me do it better.
Yes.
So good.
I think it's probably time we check that we've covered all your questions. I'm going to open up my notes here and just see if we've got everything covered. Yeah, we've covered the Chrome stuff. I think we've covered everything except like the non-Google apps. How about we talk about those? Have you still got time to chat?
Sure.
Great. I've still got energy. So let's talk about, you asked about
Let's-
Notion and Slack and how you might connect these to your Google account. Do you want to articulate or re-articulate that question, or do you want me to just go and answer it based on what you've got here?
Two questions. One, Microsoft, so Word, Office. Like I have Microsoft 365 through my university. Can I just use the online versions of Excel and Word? Is that a viable approach in Google?
Great question. Certainly you can make use of the online versions of Word and Excel. They don't have everything that the desktop versions have. Personally, I'm not up to speed with how good they are these days because I haven't even tried them in a couple of years. There is another option though, and that is that you can use the Android versions on your Chromebook.
Oh, okay.
So how would I do that? The Android version of Word and the Android version of Excel, and I'm 99% sure that your existing 365 subscription will give you access to those because you just sign in with your Microsoft account, and if you've got a license, then you're off to the races.
All right.
Next, there are some emulators that will allow you to run Windows apps on your Chrome device. There's an open source piece of software called Wine, W-A-N-E, which was wrapped into a program called Crossover. And that Crossover app for Chrome lets you run, I think Microsoft is probably one of the number one apps that people want to run. It'll let you run the Windows version of Microsoft on the Chrome device. Now, how will that run on 4 gig of RAM? I don't know. But if you were someone who really wanted it, that would be one option. The third option is using remote desktop back to a computer that's running it, which will run surprisingly well as long as your internet connection is fine. So Microsoft, yes, on a Chromebook, not always the most amazing experience, but there are options.
And then the second question. Actually, I'm writing down a note to self. I'll just ask you, when we wrap up with this call, are you able to take a transcript of this call, create a summary of this? I'm assuming this is going into a Google Drive somewhere.
Mate, I was hoping that Gemini had already done it, and I didn't click the Gemini button.
Oh dear.
But that's all right. But we've got a transcript, so we've got a transcript of every word, which we can drop in Gemini, and it'll do the same thing. It won't be automatic, but we'll get you a transcript, of course.
Cool. Okay, so here's the third question, or second question, part B. I have Notion and I have Slack, both of which were kind of given to me by more tech savvy, younger people, and I understand and appreciate their value. I have not really been able to organize it so it can organize me, specifically with Notion, but the communication in Slack as well. How can I connect those to the Google ecosystem, to my Chromebook, so that I can have a more integrated experience with those technologies?
Great question. What do you want to use Slack for, and what do you want to use Notion for?
Well, I get together with some really smart people on Wednesday mornings, including you, my friend, who communicate via Slack, and that's because we are all in different time zones around the world. I'm used to just sending emails, so that transition to Slack, or knowing when people comment or ask me a question or have something specific for me, I'd like to just know what's going on Slack while I'm sleeping, so that when I get up in the morning and other people are going to bed at that same time, I can stay in touch with what's happening on the Slack group.
Yeah. Okay, great. Good question. And we will need to loop back to Loom as well, right?
Okay.
Sorry. What's the other one? Notion.
Loom and
Notion as well. Yeah. So this is like a and we've got to be careful not to offend, but this is a generational shift in communication, in technology. It's a generational shift in technology. and
Delicately
email,
said. Thank you.
Email used to be the one place we would go to for our communication, right? And you would triage that communication channel. I don't know, maybe half an hour a day, if you're really busy. And then you'd go about your work, and you could go and do your work, and you'd ignore email for the rest of the day. The problem we have now is we have Slack, we have Facebook Messenger, we have WhatsApp, we still have our email, we have phone calls and iMessage and text message from mum. We've got, we've got a million other platforms that are, constantly hounding us for things. And in our business, when I'm working with my team, we have a rule. We stick to our own internal communication channels, and that's it. We try and block out the rest of the world so we can get work done together. Now, that's got its own problems with people interrupting each other within an office, right? But as much as possible, we try and block out the rest of the world. And the philosophy there is we try and keep the communication channel down to 1 or 2 if we absolutely have to. So email is banned internally. We don't use email.
Okay.
We use primarily Asana for managing projects and tasks. And you could use Notion for that as well. It's roughly equivalent to Asana. Notion's a bit more like a wiki. Asana is very task and project focused, but you can do almost the same with both. And then chat, and we happen to use Google Chat. We don't use Slack. Chat we use for when it's urgent, or when someone's late for a meeting, or when we want to send a message to everyone right now. We'll use chat. We'll use chat for that. Like, hey everyone, it's blah blah's birthday. Let's all celebrate, because we all work from home, right? 70 people all work from home, all in different locations. No one's in the office. No one can tap the other person on the shoulder. The reason I don't like email is everyone else in the world can add to that to-do list and add to that list, right? And when I'm trying to communicate with my team, I don't want to be distracted by the rest of the world. Secondly, I don't like Slack for the same reason. Slack is one of these multi-company organisms where if you're on Slack, all these other companies that are on Slack all of a sudden kind of start, messaging you as well. So now that probably doesn't help you. That's my recommendation for companies and once you've got a team. But I'm hoping that might give you a bit of context in my philosophy. My philosophy is block out the rest of the world that's not important to you, except when it's actually important. So, I keep Slack open for the one community of a couple of people that I, want to check in every now and again. But I would honestly prefer not to have it around. I certainly don't have notifications that pop up. I don't have sounds that pop up. The little icon changes from no color to a red color when there's a message there. But I could just as easily have it off my computer and check it on my phone at the end of the day, like I check WhatsApp at the end of the day when I sit down on the couch. Like I don't let it ping me during the day. If it's an emergency, I expect someone would call, except most of my friends are millennials and Gen Z and no one calls anymore. I'm in the hospital, I'm dying, in a text message, right? But apart from that, I expect, okay, if my phone's not ringing, it can't be that important. No one's died unless the phone's ringing, so I'll leave it and then I'll catch up with that. And the important people in my life know if it's an emergency, call, and then I'll answer, right? The challenge is that if you're in your position and, whether you're a sole trader or a consultant, you may have different clients or different, people that you interact with or work with, texting you and messaging you and communicating with you on lots of different platforms. One way of trying to manage that is you can pull all of these different platforms into an app that tries to be a consolidated inbox for all of those platforms. I still think it's a little bit messy. If possible, if you can try and train some of your customers or your contacts or your colleagues to contact you through certain communication channels for when they need you for certain things, that can certainly be useful. But it is a modern challenge without easy solutions.
Okay.
Yeah, there are simple solutions like Just uninstall Facebook Messenger from your phone and only check it once a week, on your computer. Simple solution, but not necessarily easy when, I've got to wait for that person to come and pick up the couch that I'm selling on Marketplace. I should really have the notifications on because I want to see those notifications. Or my Auntie Anne doesn't know how to use WhatsApp. So, I've got to have Messenger on so when she's an hour away from my place, she can message me and I'll see it. That kind of shit, right? It's hard to get right. I cannot say that I've perfected it myself. But I do like, I use iOS and Android. You can do the same thing as well, but you can set up do not disturb. You can set up, different profiles for when you're in work mode or home mode and allow different apps to ping or not ping. Things like that I do find useful. And thankfully, the AI stuff in the background, at least with iOS, we'll do things like, hey, it looks like you use this app quite often when you're in work mode. Do you want to add it to the allowed app list in work mode? So little things like that, they're starting to do the thinking for you, rather than having to go into tinker mode and spend an hour trying to set it up perfectly, because not everyone's a techo and wants to do that. And, like you said on a call earlier this morning, sometimes you need someone to show you the map before you even know what to look for, or before you even know what button to press. So thankfully, these phones are getting smarter. They're watching our behavior and they're giving us, prompts now, it's useful.
Well, this has been really good for that map. Getting a view, not from 10,000 feet, but maybe from a few hundred feet of, these are some specific things that I can do. I have some good solid next steps of what I want to do to get set up with Google, talk with you and your team a little more, and have a way of turning this small investment of this machine into something that can really help to reorganize and structure my life.
Yeah, awesome. And I'd say that like Notion's a great app to use and to start to get into. Personally, I'm a little more like task focused and a little bit more databasey as a person, and Asana's just that little bit more list based, which I tend to like. And we happen to use it for all our projects in the business, so I decided to stick with Asana for absolutely everything. I did make use of Notion for a while, and I see what's really great about it, particularly for those who have a lot of ideas that they want to dump or unstructured thoughts that they just want to put somewhere. It's excellent for that, because you can click new page, it opens up a new wiki page, and you can just start typing and just start getting your stuff down and worry about organizing it later. So it's wonderful for that use. Whereas in Asana, because you may end up with hundreds or thousands of tasks, if you create a task and you don't put it in the right place immediately, you lose it. And then like if you don't go back to the right task list, you kind of got to be really organized with your filing to have it right. Now, if you've got a big team, that's essential, because Notion is not great when you've got a really large team, because it's too loose. It just gets too messy. It doesn't have that kind of like more regimented file organization or task organization. Anyway, but Notion's good for building what some people refer to as a second brain, which is, where can I put all the digital stuff and have some kind of system? Now, there's a great framework that I came across in the last year or so, which is called PARA, P-A-R-A. It's a organization model. I don't know who came up with it or where it's from, but if you Google and find it, there's also a good PARA Notion. I don't know if it was a template or here we go. There's some templates there. There's some YouTube videos on of course our favorite website to find tutorials on getting it set up inside Notion. If you're interested in that, I'd recommend checking that out. That gives you a map of like, how do I organize my thoughts? How do I organize my second brain? And I use that framework roughly in what I use as Asana, but you would do the same thing as Notion. So I would see that as like your knowledge resource and organizing your brain. Then Slack is a communication channel. So like email is a communication channel, like other chat apps are a communication channel. It should be treated as such, and you should have good digital hygiene with that communication channel.
Yep. Well
Yeah.
said. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to look into this para as well.
Yeah.
And then maybe another good video idea of that side-by-side comparison you were talking about with Asana and Notion. Because it really is useful to get that map of here's the fundamentals of what you need to know about both of these, rather than trying to read the promotional material and figure it out yourself. Someone who knows both of them and says, if you think this way, or if you're doing this type of project, here's the way to go versus this other.
If you're a bit more loosely organized and you like the idea of like a digital notebook with like loose leaf pages and, you know, stuff a little bit all over the place, but still somehow findable and searchable if you really need to find the thing, that's Notion. If you're a person who's militant about to-do lists and you want to do the thing and then cross it off one by one and give the thing to the person who needs to do the thing at the right time on the right day, that's Asana.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, but they can both kind of do both. But you know, they're better at each. And for where you're at the moment, like business stage, I don't think you need a 300 task long task list to get yourself organized. I think you need somewhere digital to dump all your stuff. Start to get some of your thinking organized into some systems based thinking with your digital stuff, because you want to start delegating to editors potentially. You want to start managing your channel production. We can do another session and talk about those things, and maybe even build some stuff out in Notion, although I'm not the best Notion builder because I haven't done heaps in it lately. That's all available with the tools that you have. And once you've got the map, then you can start delegating. Once you've got the data entered, you just change that assignee to somebody else, and then then it's their job to do it rather than you.
Outstanding. Very good. Anybody else asking questions online?
There are actually. I'm gonna read out one more, and then I think we might be time to wrap here. Not My Fish. Okay, welcome. Thank you. Dre says, just tuned in. Thanks for your Not My Fish. That's an interesting name. I want to know all about that business. I've got my work fully focused on Google Workspace as a football scout. Oh, that is very interesting. I also use App Sheets and Looker, but the whole workspace is perfect for my job. Excellent. So for those listening or watching, and for you, Todd, App Sheets is it's like an application builder for Google Workspace. You can build small apps, workflows, little mini databases. It's kind of equivalent to Microsoft Access. It's interesting little builder in there, but you got to be quite techo to run it. For most business owners, I recommend to stay away, because it's something you could tinker on all day, and it would be better to send to someone else.
And for somebody who's a football scout, he could probably keep track of how many touchdowns they're getting, first downs, offense, defense plays. I bet
Exactly. Well, who knows? I mean, ideally, you'd be able to just punch the raw data into a large language model, Gemini, GPT, whatever, and then ask it, hey, just take all that raw data and put it in a table, or give me insights or analysis from that. Or you could even pull the data in from a tool like Zapier, which is a cloud connected tool. You could even say something like, hey, listen to this audio, put it through GPT and transcribe it, take the data with Zapier, and then put it into a language model to organize the data. There's so much exciting stuff that can be done right now with building agents and automations and everything else.
Check again and see if Not My Fish has started cussing at me for saying it's not that kind of football.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, no. Well, yeah, we'll see. Hold on, I'm gonna Google them. Not My Fish, and then they'll end up on that. They said that they're watching. They said that they're watching on delay because they joined late.
No worries. That's what he'll be happy when he gets to that point.
That is such an interesting username. I can't find them on Google. Yeah, they're going to get excited, and then we'll have finished by then. Anyway, cool. I think it's time to wrap there. Todd, stick around. I'll do my little wrap up, and then I'll stick around back on the meet with you, mate. But thank you so much for joining. I appreciate your questions, and I hope this was super valuable for you.
Very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. If you are interested in being a part of another one of these, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you're interested in actually being on a live consultation with me, you can apply. The easiest way to do that, I don't know if there'll be a link below this video yet or not, but you can head to my personal website, go to moriarty.co. Just drop me a message on LinkedIn, say hello, and let me know you're interested in a consultation. I'll send you a form to apply. We've got some criteria just to make sure these are really valuable for the audience. But if not, we'll see you in the next one. Take care.